إلى موتى الحاضرين وموتى المؤمنين، من مات على الإيمان، من مات على ولاية أمير المؤمنين، لا سيما إلى السيد المرحوم السيد رضا الحسيني والمرحوم غلام أحمد خواجة، وإلى شهداء الإسلام، شهداء الدفاع المقدس، شهداء على طريق القدس، لا سيما سيدي شهداء هذه الأمة، شهيدنا الأقدس والسيد الهاشمي، إلى أرواح مراجعنا العظام، لا سيما السيد الإمام روح الله الموسوي الخميني قدس سره الشريف، رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبا القاسم محمد. عليه وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روح وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفدا، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين منذ آدم إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالولي الأعظم أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام. قال تعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا تجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. ولو أنا كتبنا عليهم أن اقتلوا أنفسكم أو اخرجوا من دياركم ما فعلوه إلا قليل منهم، ولو أنهم فعلوا ما يوعظون به لكان خيرا لهم وأشد تثبيتا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. On the night of Qadr, the best of a'mal, an amal in which you share with Allah Azza wa Jal. We know that Allah Azza wa Jal is jealous. He doesn't like to share His attributes or His actions with anyone, except for the action of salawat, where He says, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Anbiya, but know by your Lord, they do not believe in reality until they make you, O Muhammad, a judge of that which has become a matter of disagreement among them, and then do not find any straightness in their hearts as to what you have decided, and submit with entire submission. And if we had prescribed for them, lay down your lives or go forth from your homes, they would not have done it except a few of them, and they had done what they were admonished. And if they had done what they were admonished, it would have certainly been better for them and best in strengthening them. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. We send our condolences to Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, to the leader of the Ummah, Sayyid al-Qaid, Imam al-Khamenei, to our esteemed Maraja, and to the believers all over the world on the sad occasion of the striking of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. The verse that we open up with, Allah Azza wa Jal throws in a very difficult equation for the believers. Addressing the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, Allah Azza wa Jal is saying to the Prophet that these believers that are in front of you, these companions of yours, and the believers in general, these who are present here today, none of them, pay attention to this, brothers and sisters, on the night of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. This is a very important equation. Allah says, Ya Muhammad, none of them truly believe. None of them have become true Muslims. None of them can claim that they are your followers unless they refer to you, Ya Muhammad, in any disagreements between them, so that you may judge. And we know that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi judges, when he passes judgment, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, everything he says is in fact a revelation from Allah Ta'ala. So whatever judgment Rasulullah passes, whatever decision Rasulullah makes, this is from Allah. Allah Azza wa Jal goes further than this. He says, not only do I want them to come and refer to you, Ya Muhammad, for judgment, and not only do I want them to accept what you have passed in judgment, but I want them to not even have disagreement or a dislike for what you have ordained in their hearts. You know, sometimes there will be a religious verdict, a fatwa, a hukum. And many of us, inshallah, or the majority of, inshallah, all of us, we don't argue when it comes to the hukum. We'll accept it and we'll take it. But sometimes there's a particular hukum, a particular ruling. Even though I'll abide by it, in my heart, I'm not happy about it. In my heart, I dislike it. In my heart, I prefer that the ruling was otherwise. Allah Azza wa Jalla says in this verse, Ya Muhammad, none of them truly believe unless they come to you so that you may judge between them. And not only do I want them to accept the ruling, but I want them to find no dislike for this ruling in their hearts. Allah Azza wa Jal goes further than this in the next verse. He's talking about the state which He expects believers to be at. He says, and if we were to command them to kill themselves or to leave their homes, only but a few of them would abide by this. You will find only a very few. And it would be better for them had they adhered to Allah's command. These two verses, brothers and sisters, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam he's the embodiment of the entire Quran, but he was the embodiment of these two verses specifically. Whenever Ali alayhi salam received a command from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, whenever he received direction from the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, whenever it was asked of him to do something, he salamullahi alayhi would not question. He salamullahi alayhi would not hesitate. He salamullahi alayhi would carry out the words of Rasulullah to the T and not find in his heart even a disliking for the commandment. And this is what made Ali alayhi salam, number one, stand out from the rest of the companions, and number two, disliked by many of the companions. Look at the difference between Ali alayhi salam and the rest of the companions. Several times in the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, we'll see that he gives a command to the companions and they have much to say about this command. They give him a hard time about it. Why should it be like this? Why should it be like this? In fact, in one of, I think it was after the Battle of Uhud, where one of the hypocrites is captured and he repents in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi pardons him. In the books of our Sunni brothers, it says that the second Khalifa jumps in front of Rasulullah and says to him, Ya Muhammad, do not pardon him. Do not pardon him. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says, no, he's pardoned. He jumps the second time and he says, Ya Muhammad, do not pardon him. He's a hypocrite, he's a liar. I don't believe in his repentance. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says, no, he is to be pardoned. The third time, the second Khalifa, he says, تعجبت على جرأتي عند رسول الله. He says, I was shocked at my audacity in the face of Rasulullah. This tajarru. He says, I took him by the shoulders and I shook him. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. He shakes the Holy Messenger. And he says to him, Ya Muhammad, I am telling you, do not pardon him. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Or when the companions were commanded to join the army of Osama, right before the demise of the Holy Messenger. And Osama was known to be young, 16, 17 years old. And he had placed him at the head of the army of the Muslims. Many of the companions refused to join the army of Osama, even though the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ تَخَلَّى عَنْ جَيْشِ أُسَامَةَ أو مَنْ تَخَلَّفَ عَنْ جَيْشِ أُسَامَةَ. May the curse of Allah be upon the one who abandons the army of Osama. Many of these companions, in their rationale, they said that, you know what, Osama is too young. Rasulullah doesn't know what he's on about. He's appointed a child. We're not going to follow the army of Osama. Leading up to the calamity, Musiba Uraziyatul Khamis, the calamity of Thursday, which is mutawatir amongst Sunni and Shia hadith. We all agree that this event took place. Imagine the audacity that some of these companions had. Where the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi in his deathbed, while he is sick, commands for them to bring forth some skin and ink. He says to them, I will write for you a will that if you abide by it, you will not go astray after me. Ibn Abbas narrates, he says that the voices in the room began to get louder. They began to argue with one another. One group saying, bring him the pen, and the other group saying, no, do not bring him the pen. And then again, the second Khalifa has his famous slogan, Hasbuna Kitabullah. The book of Allah is sufficient. The Prophet is sick, he's ill, we don't know what he's going to write. There was no taslim. There was no submission to the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi. Come to Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi says to him, after me, Ya Ali, after me, your right to the Khilafah will be usurped. Your house will be attacked. Your door will be burnt. Fatima alayha salam will be crushed between the door and the wall. My Fatima will be slapped after me, Ya Ali. But you, Ya Ali, you have a command from Allah that you must not raise your sword. That you, Ya Ali, you must not fight on this day. And Ali alayhi salam submits and does not even question for 1 second. Why, Ya Rasulullah? Why must I allow for my right to be usurped? Why must I allow for my house to be attacked? Why must I allow for Fatima alayha salam to be crushed between the door and the wall? Why must I allow to be tied up and taken away and dragged to the Khalifa? Why? He doesn't do any of this. He simply submits to the will of Allah Azza wa Jal and the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in fact, he addresses this and he mentions this during the attack on his house. I think I mentioned it last night. In the book of Sulaym, Salman narrates, he says that on that day, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he takes one of the attackers, the second Khalifa, he takes him by the clothes and he throws him to the floor and he rubs his nose in the dirt and he says to him, it is only because you know that there is a covenant between myself and Rasulullah that I will not raise my sword. It is only because you know this that you dare attack my house. In other words, we know you are a coward. Had you known that I was permitted to raise the sword, you will not dare to attack my house. This was Ali alayhi salam. The one who doesn't compromise on the commands, on the orders of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And this was what made him disliked amongst many of the companions after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. That he was the manifestation of taslim. He was the manifestation of submitting to the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. This gave him a hard time. After 2 decades and a half of innovations in the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam finally takes charge of the Khilafah. And he looks at this ummah and he sees that its religion no longer resembles the religion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa, to the extent that in his first salat in Kufa, one of the companions is seen crying hysterically. And another companion comes to him and says, what is it that makes you cry? He says, by Allah, I have not seen this salat since the demise of Rasulullah. Ali alayhi salam has reminded us of how salat used to be at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. Even the salat of the Muslims had changed. When he, salamullahi alayhi, came to address the bid'ah, the innovations in religion. Now in the month of Ramadan, our Sunni brothers are accustomed to praying Taraweeh. Correct? They go and they pray Taraweeh in the masjid. We obviously refrain from Taraweeh. This Taraweeh, by their own admittance, this is not an accusation. This is something they admit, they confess. They say, yes, this is how it happened. This Taraweeh at the time of the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi banned the believers from praying Taraweeh in congregation in the masjid. He said to them, this nafila, you pray at home individually. To the point where one night they came and they began to throw stones on the door of Rasulullah so that he may come out and lead them in Taraweeh. And he comes out very upset at them and says, I told you to pray this at home. So until the demise of the Holy Messenger, this nafila and throughout the Khilafah of the first Khalif, This nafila of Shahr Ramadan was prayed at home until the second Khalifa came, and then he commanded that the believers be gathered in the masjid, and that adhan be iqamah be raised, and that they pray it in jama'ah. And then he says in his own words, ma ajmala hadhihi al-bid'ah, how beautiful is this innovation. When Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam takes the reins of Khilafah in Kufa, he sees this. And then he bans the believers. He says to them, the Holy Messenger banned us from praying this in congregation. They were in the Grand Mosque of Kufa, Masjid al-Kufa. Go to your homes and pray it in your homes. There was crying in the streets. People were screaming in the streets, Wa sunnat fulana. Ali is coming to destroy the sunnah of fulan. They were going to rise up against Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and fight him. Where's the Shia of Ali salamullahi alayhi? And this is a very uncomfortable discussion. And I'm going to keep it short, inshallah. And in the coming nights, we'll touch back on it. We need to have a moment of sincerity between us and Allah Azza wa Jal when it comes to that which Allah Azza wa Jal has ordained. When it comes to the ahkam, the rulings of our religion. We must be amongst those who refer all of our affairs to Allah and His Messenger. And submit to whatever Allah Azza wa Jal has ruled and His Messenger, and not find any dislike for it in our hearts. This is very difficult. This is very difficult, brothers and sisters. And I'll bring a controversial example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is going to put me out of favor with the sisters. But it's the clearest example I can give. Forgive me, sisters, but at the end of the day, I am only a messenger. Genuinely, but the issue of polygamy in Islam, right? It's a clear-cut issue. There's no ifs or buts about it. There's no circumstantial or, unique situation where it is permitted. It is permitted. Rather, it is encouraged. As we have. It's encouraged. It's difficult to say, and I might get lynched on my way out of here, but inshallah, Shahada on the night of Amir al-Mu'mineen is good. But this is something ordained in the Holy Quran. Something which is ordained in the Sunnah of the Holy Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Something which is practiced by the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and encouraged. And don't come and say to me, in the time of Fatima alayhi salam, Ali alayhi salam only had Fatima. You are not Fatima, salamullahi alayhi. And I am not Ali alayhi salam. This is unique. This is a unique ruling to Fatima alayhi salam. And subhanallah, and I said this a few weeks ago in another city. I was giving a jurisprudential course to the sisters. You'll find that many of our sisters, many of them, do not know the basic ahkam of women that are related to the women. They really don't know. They're very complicated. I don't know them. Very complicated ahkam. But when it comes to this, they become fuqaha, experts in the Arabic language, experts in jurisprudence, experts in usul, experts in rijal, experts in kalam. They become maraji'. They will dissect the ayah, they will dissect the narrations, they will dissect the seerah, they will go into the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi and dissect his emotions, why he didn't marry at the time of Khadija. What? Experts. Sister, ahkam al-tahara, go learn them. No. Here, maraji', fuqaha. when the law comes in front of them, you say, this is what Allah ordained. She will reject the law of Allah Azza wa Jal. Outwardly reject it. Khalas, no. I don't care. Okay, it's haram, it's halal, but I don't accept it. Khalas, I don't accept it. Here, Allah Azza wa Jal, this is a verse in the Quran. He says, I don't even want you to have dislike for it in your hearts. Sisters, be careful. More often than not in this situation, you are ruining your dunya and your akhirah. One sister got up. She wasn't very happy. And she said, so I'm supposed to like sharing my husband? I said, stop. Sharing? Who said anything about sharing? You share something which is yours. You share something which you own and you possess. You do not own and possess your husband. He's not yours to share or not share. He's not yours, I'm sorry. The West came with their stupid romance and their silly movies and their poetry and their songs and their just The Notebook and all this rubbish, Ryan Gosling, and told you this is what love is. Love is ownership. Love is not ownership in Islam. No human owns another human. Your husband doesn't even own you. You can't share him, sister, because he's not yours. I said, sister, let me ask you a question, because she was saying, I'll divorce him. I said, you're a man. You can't divorce. You're not a man. You can't divorce. A man can divorce, sister. I will demand he divorces me. If he chooses to divorce you, that's fine. But let me ask you this question. Now, sisters, please pay attention. I know you're angry at me at the moment, but we need to address this stuff. Is jealousy a negative characteristic or not? Jealousy, is it negative? Is it qabih? Yeah? If you agree with me that it is qabih, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is something which is ugly. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who you will cry for tonight. Pay attention. This is Ali alayhi salam. This is the religion of Ali alayhi salam. He says, غِيرَةُ الْمَرْأَةِ مِنَ الْكُفْرِ. The jealousy of a woman is from kufr. وَغِيرَةُ الرَّجُلِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. And the jealousy of a man is from iman. They say to him, how is it? Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, because when a woman is jealous, she will make forbidden what Allah Ta'ala has made permissible. She will make it haram. And when a man is jealous, he is jealous because he is upholding that which Allah Ta'ala has ordained. So I said to this sister, you agree with me that jealousy is a negative attribute? She says yes. I said, so you are willing to break up your family, destroy the lives of your children in order for you to quench this negative attribute of yours, your jealousy? Is this sane? Is this amwaliya? And the same goes for brothers. The same goes for brothers. When you are presented with a law by Allah Azza wa Jal, when it is said to you that, brother, it is your financial responsibility. You are financially responsible for this woman. You are responsible for her finances, her shelter, her health, her wealth, her well-being. You are responsible for her children, your children. She is not responsible. Her money is her money. You are not allowed to take a dime from her money without her permission. You cannot force her to help and assist financially in the house unless she wants to. But you cannot force her to do this. Some of them have dislike for this hukum in their hearts. When we come and we want to establish within our hearts and our communities, when we want to lay down the framework for the government of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. The government of Imam al-Qa'im is based on this: submission to the will of Allah, submission to the rulings of Allah Ta'ala, submission to the hukum of Allah Azza wa Jal. When we read in our narrations that Imam al-Zaman will come and bring forth a new religion, our narrations say, but it is not a new religion. Rather, Imam al-Zaman is bringing us back to orthodox Islam, to the religion of his grandfather, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, how it was practiced at the time of the Holy Messenger. But because we are so far away from orthodox Islam, we find that this is a new religion. It is a foreign religion. It is a foreign religion. Because Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam comes to reintroduce to the Ummah orthodox Islam. In only 25 years, Islam was corrupted. Because Ali alayhi salam comes to reintroduce the original religion of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih, all fronts are open on Ali alayhi salam, and all wars are waged on him, and eventually he, salamullahi alayhi, is killed. And his companions, they come and they say, Ya Ali, make some concessions. Make some concessions. Maybe the believers will not fight you. Maybe the ummah will not turn against you. Ali alayhi salam, he says, by Allah, if I was to face them on my own, by myself, and their numbers had covered the entire earth, I would not flinch on one stance. I would fight them on this. Because if we are not keen on preserving our religion, when we start to make concessions here and there on the laws of Allah Azza wa Jal, crack after crack, eventually, when the government of Sahib al-Zaman comes, I find myself that I do not resemble the citizens of this government. I find that I do not belong, I do not fit in. I am living in a society where Imam al-Mahdi is ordaining things that I don't like. And I always ask this question, and again to the sisters that come to me with this problem, that if you were to come and sit now, bring this issue, don't bring it to me, the Shaykh. Don't bring it to the Shaykh. Bring it to Rasulullah. Come and say to him, Ya Rasulullah, I want to tear apart my family because my husband remarried. The brothers are very happy tonight. Yeah, look at them. What would Rasulullah's reaction be to this? What would he say? Ah, yes, we mentioned it in the Quran, heck, as an example. We didn't really mean it. You want to hear something more than this? Sallu ala Muhammad. You know, when Allah Azza wa Jal, and this isn't a lecture about marriage, but khalas, I think Sheikh Sha'ar gave an extensive course on this. But you know, when Allah Azza wa Jal is addressing the believers in the Holy Quran and He tells them to marry, yeah? How many does He start with? Who knows the verse? Who knows the verse here? Ahsan. He starts with how many? He starts with 2. He starts with 2. He doesn't even start with 1. He doesn't say marry 1 and then marry 2 and then 3 and then 4. No, he says mithna wa thulatha. The base, the status quo is 2. 2. وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ. And if you are afraid, if you are a coward, if you are not brave, then marry one. Then, this is an exception. The exception is marry one. The law, the rule is 2 minimum. The exception, if, istithna, if you are afraid that you will not deal with them justly, then brother, only then marry one. I am a coward, I admit, I am a coward myself. One, I'm afraid. But this is not the point. The point that I am coming to is, in order for us to be amongst those who are sincerely Muslim, who have sincerely submitted to Allah Azza wa Jal, an absolute and complete submission, and have trusted Allah Ta'ala, absolute trust, then we need to be amongst those who submit to the ahkam, even if this ruling doesn't sit right with me. Even if the ruling doesn't sit right with me, that means there's something wrong with me. I need to work on myself. It's not that the ruling is wrong. It's not that the marja is wrong. It's not that Rasulullah wal-iyadu billah is wrong, or Allah Azza wa Jal is wrong. I'm wrong. There's something wrong with me. And brothers and sisters, this was the problem with Iblis. We can bring so many examples from Iblis's refusal to bow to Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is one of them. It's that Iblis, la'natullahi alayh, wanted to worship Allah Azza wa Jal for so long as worshipping Allah Ta'ala was comfortable for him. He was worshipping in a way that he wanted to worship Allah Ta'ala. He was worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal in a way which he liked. The narration says to us that he offers Allah Azza wa Jal. He says to him, please, let me be. Exempt me from bowing down to Adam. But let me make it up to you. I will bow down to you one prostration. No one before me or after me has prostrated to you like it for 5,000 years. Instead of bowing down to Adam, one sujood. The narration says that Allah says to Iblis, He says to him, "U'bad kama urid an u'bad, wa laysa kama turid." I will be worshipped how I want to be worshipped, not how you wish to worship me. Ana ar-Rabb wa anta al-'abd. I am the master and you are the servant. Brothers, sisters, remove yourselves from this notion that you are Allah's friend. We are servants of Allah Azza wa Jal. I mentioned last night, one of the conditions for inheriting the earth and becoming the khulafa of Allah Azza wa Jal is we need to be servants. وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الذِّكْرِ أَنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ. My righteous servants, not awliya'i, asdiqa'i, abna'i, none of this. Servants. Ayatollah Bahjat Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, he says all of our problems, all of them can be solved with Allah Azza wa Jal. Once we understand the dynamic of the relationship between a servant and his master. Once we understand how servants and masters behave with one another, how I as a servant must behave with my master, this will solve all of my problems with Allah Ta'ala. When I understand that I am a slave, when I understand that what is required of me is absolute submission, don't worry about the results. Don't worry about what happens. The results are up to Allah Ta'ala. My duty is to obey. My duty is to submit. My duty is to give myself to Allah Azza wa Jal to the extent where if, like in the verse, He asks me to kill myself, I kill myself without questioning. In the narration of Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, when he asks one of the visitors that says to him, we have thousands of muwalin in Khurasan. Thousands, he says to him. Why don't you rise and take your right from Bani al-Abbas? The Imam says to him, thousands. He says, yes, thousands of muwalin. Behind the Imam, you know the story, it's a famous one. Behind him is an oven. He says to this man, sit in the oven. Sit in the oven. He says, why, Ya Ibn Rasulullah? Why do you want me to sit in the oven? One of the companions of the Imam, salamullah alayhi, is walking by. He calls him, Ya Fulan, come here, sit in the oven. And he comes and he sits in the oven. And then the narration says that the Khurasani is watching in astonishment. The flames are engulfing this companion but not harming him, and the Imam is conversing with him. Then the Imam asks him, how many in Khurasan like this man? How many? When they become like him, then we will rise up and we will take our cause. Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam wants brothers and sisters like this. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The situation of the Shia today when it comes to submission is a lot better than back then. This is something we are witnessing with our own eyes. When it was said to your brothers and sisters in Lebanon, when it was said to them, all the armies of the world have gathered for you on the southern border, in their Apaches and their F-35s and their F-16s, and the US Air Force and the French Air Force and the British Air Force and the Zionist Air Force, all of them have come and they've come to bomb and kill you. Go out with your bare chest. These youth, wallahi, you bow your head in shame. They did not hesitate. They sat in the oven. They sat in the oven without question. This is the state we want to get to. This is the right that Ali alayhi salam was martyred because of. Because of this, he was killed, salamullahi alayhi. And because of this, he fought. He fought the woman, and he fought Muawiyah, and he fought the Khawarij for this. And Ali alayhi salam was killed only because there were those around him who did not meet this standard, who would continuously question Ali alayhi salam, continuously argue with him, continuously disagree with him. When he called them to war in summer, they said to him, Ya Ali, it's too hot. When he called them to war in winter, they said, Ya Ali, it's too cold. Until Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he said, Mali'tum qalbi qayha. You have filled my heart with pus. May Allah Azza wa Jal give me better than you and give you worse than me. Khalas. Ali alayhi salam reached a point where it is said he is found in the wilderness at night in his last days, weeping heavily with his hands in the ground and the tears filling his beard and turning the sand beneath him into clay. Those watching him say, we thought that he was going to die from how heavily he was weeping. And we could hear him saying, Aina ashabi? Where are my companions? Where is Ammar bin Yasir? Aina al-Miqdad? Where is Miqdad? Where are these companions who read the verses of the Quran and pondered upon them? Where are these companions who learnt the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa aqamu, and they established this sunnah? Where are they? We do not want to be amongst those that our Imam alayhi salam cries because of. We do not want to be a cause of pain and heartbreak to our Imam on a night like tonight, on a night where the skies are opened, on a night where the angels are descending and then going back up and ascending to Allah with your prayers, on a night where your fortune and your destinies are decreed, on the night of dua. Sincerely ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make His religion and His law beloved and loved by you, and to remove from your heart any barrier between you and Allah Azza wa Jal, and remove from you anything that will allow you or push you towards disagreeing with the hukum of Allah Ta'ala, or rejecting the law of Allah Azza wa Jal. And don't forget in your prayers tonight, most importantly, Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif. Laylatul Qadr is the night of Sahib al-Zaman. Surah Al-Qadr is one of the greatest proofs of the existence of Imam al-Mahdi. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. This تَنَزَّلُ means it is consistent. The angels are consistently every year in Laylatul Qadr, they are coming down. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. With the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal in all matters. This decree, it must need a receiver, and the one who receives it on this earth is Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif. Tonight, Imam al-Zaman is receiving your decree. So remember him, intercede by him. Remember him in your dua. Pray for his well-being. We don't know in what corner of the earth the Imam is mourning his grandfather Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You and I, brothers and sisters, we gather in the majlis of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and we console one another. أعظم الله لكم الأجر. But the master of this majlis, the host of this majlis, is a stranger. He is unknown. There is no one to console him on the martyrdom of Ali alayhi salam. Remember him in your dua. And remember the Muslims around the world. Remember the oppressed. Pray for them. The Muslims of Yemen, the believers of Lebanon, the believers in Palestine, in Gaza, the believers in Nigeria, in Iraq, all over the world. Remember them. On this night, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam is in the house of his daughter, Kulthum. He has a very simple meal, some bread and some yogurt. When he finishes this meal and he goes into his prayer niche, his mihrab, then he goes out into the courtyard in his house. Try and imagine Ali alayhi salam on this night, walking around in the courtyard, gazing up at the sky, searching the stars. When he is asked, Ya Ali, what is it with you and the stars tonight? Why do you keep looking up at the stars? Look at the submission of Ali. Look at the love Ali alayhi salam has for Allah Azza wa Jalla Rasulullah. As he's gazing at the stars, he says, Ay wa Rabbil Ka'ba hadhihi al-layla. He says, oh, by the Lord of the Kaaba, this is the night. This is the night that I have been promised by my beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. Then he begins to recite poetry. Imagine. By the constellation of the stars, Ali alayhi salam knows he is going towards imminent death. And he recites the famous poem, Ishdud Hiyazimaka lil Maut. Strengthen your belt for death. He walks towards the door of the house, Some accounts say the door refuses to open. And he had bought some geese for Kulthum. And these geese begin to flock around Ali alayhi salam as if to prevent him from leaving the house. But Ali knows there is no running away from that which Allah Ta'ala has ordained. He, salamullahi alayhi, makes his way to the masjid. He enters the masjid and he finds the mal'oon sleeping on his stomach in this masjid. Who is this person? He says to him, do you not know that sleeping on your stomach is a sleep of shaitan? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi advised against this. I know what you hide under your cloak, but don't sleep this. He, salamullahi alayhi, goes and he calls the adhan himself. And then he begins his salat, the morning prayers of this coming morning. The final salat of Ali alayhi salam in the masjid. Allahu Akbar. He does his takbiratul ihram. Then he goes into his first rak'ah and he comes up, Sami Allahu liman hamida. Goes into sujood. As he is coming up from his sujood, Medina hears a call and a cry, Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. The sword of Ibn Muljam comes down on the head of Ali alayhi salam. And Jibreel alayhi salam is heard in all of Kufa. تهدمت والله أركان لوطا. قتل ابن عم المصطفى قتل علي المرتضى. Jibreel is the one who announces the martyrdom of Ali alayhi salam. Al-Hasan alayhi salam continues the salat. And they carry Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam to the back. And then they begin to carry him. And here's where the musibah is, brothers and sisters. Forgive me, Allah Azza wa Jal has not blessed me with a voice for now. But imagine now the musibah. The one who witnessed the demise of her grandfather Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa. The one who witnessed the tragedy of the attack on the house of Fatima alayha salam. And witnessed the breaking of her mother's ribs and the miscarriage of Muhsin and the burning of the door. The one who Ali alayhi salam became her father and mother, Zainab alayhi salam. Now sees her father being dragged and carried into the house with his head split open and bleeding. How would have Zainab felt when she saw this sight? Knowing that in a few years' time, Zainab alayhi salam would have to witness a similar sight on the plains of Karbala. Our narrations say to us that Zainab salamullahi alayha on the day of Ashura, as Shimr sat on the chest of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam and took Al-Hussein alayhi salam by the beard. Just before he comes to strike the neck of Al-Hussein, Zainab alayhi salam emerges from her tent, screaming at him, telling him, get off the chest of my brother. Shimr la'natullahi alayh takes a lance and strikes Zainab alayhi salam in the head. Zainab salamullahi alayha falls down onto the ground and loses consciousness. When she regains consciousness, she opens her eyes to see the head of Al-Hussein alayhi salam on a lance. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إنا ندعوك ونسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم العز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 10 times. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. Allahumma رد كل أسير، اللهم اشفي كل مريض، اللهم اشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكسو كل عريان، اللهم عليك بالظالمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصرهم نصرا عزيزا، وافتح لهم فتحا يسيرا. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة بمحمد وعترته الطاهرة صلواتك عليه وعليهم أجمعين.